professionalized. PE teachers have to know the Waldorf curriculum. They have to know their own bodies. We're not just going to have jocks. We're going to have people who have more than muscles between their ears. And we're going to show that PE is no less important than class teaching or foreign language teaching or eurythmy. And Jamin's programs also always over-enrolled. All over the world he's teaching constantly. And people say it changed their lives to go there. Okay, now we've got the fine motor system, we've got the gross motor system. We're all set, right? I would contend there's one more thing that needs to be professionalized in the life of the school. And I've got thousands of boys to attest for this. They're all the boys who get sent out of class all the time and stand there in the hall with nothing to do. Mostly ADHD boys, of course. What are we going to do with them? They can't sit still. What about professionalizing the custodian of the school, the buildings and grounds person or people? Teach them the Waldorf curriculum, make them teachers, so that when they pull a fourth grader out of the class, they bring them down to the boiler room. Here's Thor's domain. Okay? You know, come on, let's do something fiery together. In 7th grade, come on, we've got to look at the lawnmowers. Let's examine the work of pulleys and gears and so on. It's a time that the students are learning mechanics and physics, perhaps, and so on and so forth. What a difference this would make. The only problem would be all the class would be begging to go out there. And maybe, again, we're going to have to add another subject to our already busy schedules of buildings and grounds. Not just outdoor education, not just farming, and those are important and must stay and are wonderful, but really, really looking at all of those things that are hidden. Where does the water come from that flows through the pipes? Where does the water go that flows out of the toilet? Where does the heat come from that's in our boiler? What allows this light to shine? And so on and so on and so forth. This really is going to have to become a new element in Waldorf education, or we're going to have tens of thousands of boys out there in the hall with nothing to do. They can't be contained by the classroom alone. Their will forces are not their own. They're sort of, it's as though the world is just trying to bring new will, and there's no body big enough and strong enough to accommodate it. So it's broken up in these children who definitely have challenges and problems, but all that they're showing us is a critique of our problem, which is we think education is sitting down and working at a desk. Waldorf schools are much more like other schools than we think. You know, it's basically sit and write, stand up and clap, sit and write some more, whatever. These children need to be out in the world, taking it with a lover's embrace and finding out how it works. And that, in a way, will be the next direction. In my experience, I've come across one place in the world that's doing this with young people, and this is Ruskin Mill in England. Some of you know that. It has a wonderful connection with the Camp Hill Impulse, but also works very, very differently. And that kind of work that's going on there, they work with very, very needy teenagers, autistic kids, kids who are on the verge of being sent to prison. They get one last chance. The British government will let them go to Ruskin Mill, and it often changes their lives. Stoneworking, blacksmithing, really strong, heavy stuff, as well as a lot of beautiful crafts besides. Very, very remarkable. And I think there's a model for us to look at of something that really speaks of the needs, not just of the 21st century, but of the third millennium. Because what we do now is going to be a tremendous moment for the world for the next 1,000 years. You know, we're really at the ground floor. Every time a millennium turns, there's something new coming into the world. And what goes on in the Waldorf schools will create the momentum that will really take humanity forward. Okay, so let me stop there. If you need to go home for a babysitter or to prepare for your main lesson tomorrow, please do. If you want to stay and ask questions or chat, that's fine with me as well. Thank you all so much for coming tonight.
I suggest those people who want to stay for a little bit just to sit and maybe ask questions now, or what would you prefer?
Yeah, sure.
Because that's... and there will be refreshments and conversation afterwards, and if you could put a little penny in the coin box as you go in.
Yes.
Happy to. First, I'm going to take my feet.
Television,
Baby. Oh, wait.
The assignment was that we had to do something on television. At that time, I was really, not for television. I had a certain number of things that I liked about it, and I put it off as long as I could. And unfortunately, that ended up where all of the good material, good media material, was gone out of the libraries and the video things and all this stuff. And I ended up having to dig down through these dusty tombs and found a psychology magazine, a journal, a professional journal, and it had a report on this psychologist's work with television, and how he come to find out that it was basically the unconscious viewing of television that was so detrimental. People that would come in and turn it on as a background noise or something to have on while they were engaged in something else. He said that was the real detrimental aspect. A lot of things worked into their minds. Even the impulse to new crimes was, implanted in people via this. He said, on the other hand, people or families or groups or whatever that would actually come to a decision as to which program to watch, and then assign individuals to watch certain particular aspects of the program. And they would sit down, turn it on, watch the program, they would be taking notes of whatever they wanted to do, and then when the program was off, they would shut their television off and then talk about it. And it's like, what did you see? What did you learn? And he said the amount of information and the education that they got out of this, not only within just an intellectual aspect, but also interpersonal communications and all of this social, dynamics, was incredible. I thought, well, that's the key, isn't it? You bring your consciousness to bear on it. It's not that you ignore it, you don't let it slide off, but you focus on this and say, how can I use this? What good is this? Now, of course, for an adult, that's true. As a Waldorf educator, I would say you wouldn't want children there anyway, because number one, they're not capable of raising that level of consciousness, and also because TV and the computer and most other methods of modern media, they're relying on a kind of fragmentation of the world. They're giving it to you in pixels or in frames, and you are making it happen, which is actually very fatiguing. An adult can handle that. For a child, it's really taking life forces away from them. So I agree. I mean, the unconsciousness of so much in modern life is one of the most destructive things, and again, it's hidden. It's something that's below the threshold of consciousness and can work very powerfully. But it's also, I think, we have a great concern for the age appropriateness of things, and that's why the media is such a destructive force for children.